Welcome everyone. This is a preview lightning lesson for this course that Ethan and I are doing in December. And we thought it would be great to talk about more in depth about a specific concept that we'll cover even in the broader course called compartmentalizing. So I'll be going much deeper into that, talking about a lot of personal stories today and really talking about how setting boundaries has worked for me in different contexts. So let's dive in. Jason, next slide, please. Cool. A little bit about me. If you don't know me, I spent a majority of my career at Google. There, I had 5 promotions in 10 years, going from essentially a recent graduate to engineering director. At the moment, I work as a managing VP at Capital One. And the reason this first section is relevant is because I was able to keep up this pace even with setting boundaries and having work-life balance. So a lot of the stories and tips that I plan to share today are very relevant over here, that it is possible to have a demanding career and have your balance in many ways. I hold a bachelor's, a master's, and an MBA degree. And in fact, the MBA I did while being an Eng director at Google, managing a global organization of 200 plus. And I also got 8 hours of sleep every night for the most part. So again, another example that a lot of the content that I'll be talking about today and that we'll be covering in our course is grounded in understanding the realities of having a tech job like this. I'm also a first-gen immigrant, a working mom, all these different identities that I carry with me at work as well. And certainly being a mom is a big part of what I need to balance when we talk about work-life balance. And then also at the moment, coach, writer, teacher as well. I love doing these things in addition to my day job, so I continue doing them. All right, next slide, Jason. Cool. So let's dive deeper into this concept of compartmentalizing. Why do we need this and when do we need this? So I have a lot of pictures in this deck. The first one here on the left-hand side is the Valentine's Day picture. This is February of, I think, about 2022. That's my daughter there, and those were the cards that she and I made together to give her class. You can see the number of cards we had to make. The reason this picture is up here is because I was doing this in the middle of the first time Google had layoffs and we had calibrations going on. It was the first time we were also doing the 10% quota for the bottom 2 ratings. And so there was a lot going on at work. And compartmentalizing was important because the kind of vibe and mood I had at work and the stress I had at work, I had to separate that from spending time with my daughter, from doing this activity with her, and I couldn't let the stress and the negative feelings spill over to spoil both experiences, right? So that's one example of compartmentalizing that I wanted to share here. The picture on the right is more recent. This was our Diwali event this year at home, and it was a party we were hosting. We do this every year for our friends and family in the area. It was right after a week-long summit that I had with my extended team. I had flown out. I stay in Seattle. I'd flown out to the East Coast and back just the previous day for this. And again, it's a great example of compartmentalizing. I am an introvert by nature. The summit was great, but it was a lot of stress traveling for it, meeting so many people there. I was exhausted, but I still had to keep up my energy and smile so that I could be present and there for my family and friends, right? So these two are examples of compartmentalizing work stuff from affecting home. Let's go to the next slide. Here's two more example of compartmentalizing home for work. On the left is a picture of my daughter when she had a very sick night and was resting. For those of you who are parents here, this was one of those nights where she was up coughing and throwing up almost all of the night. And on that day, I had an important exec review to go to. So I had to compartmentalize again and make sure that I still came in with my A game at work and did well in that review, even though I had a difficult night. I couldn't just be like, my daughter's sick, and so I'm going to take not show up for this meeting or show up anything less than what I needed to be. The picture on the right is a snow day in Seattle. For anyone who has been in Seattle long enough, 2 inches of snow brings the city to a halt, and we get snow days. So those on the East Coast and in other places are probably laughing at us at the moment. But this is how it is, and when there's no school, then you have to juggle having a bored kid at home, and you still have to bring your A game and show up at work sometimes. So this was another instance of how I one of the places where I did need compartmentalizing. Cool. Let's go to the next slide. So great on cue. I see in chat the question about how do you compartmentalize. I have 3 tips here, and we'll talk through them today. I have a lot more pictures also to show for each of them. The first way I compartmentalize is using what I call transition cues. On the left here, this is a coffee mug from one of our family trips to Turkey. And it was one of our best family vacations. It brings a lot of memories when I have an object like this, when I keep it in front of me and have my coffee. It's an instant transition for me. So that's like one of the cues I use to have my brain transition over. By the way, also it really depends on what transition is hard for you. Is it harder for you to go from work to home, or is it harder for you to go from home to work? Is super important. So in this case, for me, turning on work and turning off my home mode is easier, and the other way around is harder. So all my transition cues are geared towards how do I make that work to home switch easier. So for me, like having this coffee mug in front of me reminds me of home and all the great times we have as a family. And so it gets me in that mood of like, it's time to switch off work and really be present at home. On the right, driving. If there is an actual physical transition, driving from office to home, that's a great time to use to like listen to podcast or music and transition that way from work mindset to home again and be more present. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Thank you. This is the second tip I have here, which is off switches. You can use actual off switches. I have 2 pictures here. One is if I have an Android phone, I've used an Android phone for a long, long time, and there is something called personal and work profiles you can set up. You can switch off that work profile on the phone. So that way all the work apps disappear. You have only personal. I've used it many times on vacation to really make sure that I'm present and in the mood. You could also have different devices. At the moment in my current work environment, I have 2 separate devices, and I try to use that separation whenever and wherever possible to, give my brain those cues to transition from work to home mindset. Let's go ahead. Cool. The third tip I have on how to compartmentalize is not really a tip like the other two. It's what I call the delegation hack. These are all pictures of my daughter at various times when she was not well. So whenever I had rough nights, I would have these pictures of her to sort of remind myself. So I put them all up over here. She's 10 now, but as you can tell, we've gone through many different stages. So I can really talk about the compartmentalizing for the specific instance of a sick child in many different circumstances. I'm going to try to lay out like a few different tools. So, one of them is delegation at work. You can think about delegation as delegating the work part if life is really difficult and your child is very sick, like that has happened to me. Again, there, I have two different instances to talk about. The first one is when I had a senior direct report who was ready to take on the task for me. So when I had that exec review meeting, but I had a direct I could trust, they were ready, I just have handed over to them and said, you deal with this. I can't be present there today. You get to run the show. Good luck. And it was great for them, right? If they were fully ready to take on that ball without dropping, it was a great opportunity for them to see, get the visibility, to step and do like their manager's work. And so that is one way to think about delegation. In times when I had to still delegate work and I had a junior direct who was not ready to take on that entire delegation load, I was still able to leverage them to do like 70-80% of the way. And then I was able to use my limited time in such circumstances to go the rest of the way and still be present and able to handle something like an exec review in such a situation, right? So that's the delegation at work part. Now, I've also had the sick child scenario happen when I had to talk about delegation at home. Now, in those cases, like I had to switch off the home part and be fully present at work. And the two things I have over here is one is I've hired someone who I've really trusted, an exceptional nanny, and said, you take care of my kid today. I trust you to really be there and take care of her. And I'm not going to worry about it and focus fully on work. So that situation has also happened. In other times, when I did not have a trusted caregiver like that who I could just hire out and do work, it was a negotiation sometimes with my husband to say, are you able to handle this? Are you able to take care of her while I have to go just for this 1 hour and do this exec review? That situation has also helped and has happened to us. I'm trying to give like these four different scenarios here to illustrate that you want to find the right person and the right scope of work to delegate in this third tip of compartmentalizing. But you should find the person and amount of work and not try to necessarily carry that whole load yourself, especially if like that overall load between work and life is a lot in a situation like this, which it could be, right? Oops, one back. All right. Uh, yeah, successful compartmentalizing tips. So some things I wanted to quickly call out from what I just talked about before in the examples. Asking for what you need is a big, big part of successful compartmentalizing. To your boss, or to your spouse, whoever, like the delegation tip will only work and only go so far as asking for what you need. Ethan and I have done a talk about asking previously. We also have an entire module on this in our course, but asking is a very big part of successfully compartmentalizing. Being flexible, but being prepared. You want to be prepared. Like the delegation scenarios I talked about, they won't happen overnight, right? Like if you wait until that emergency, then that option may not be available to you. And then creating systems that work for you. Like I mentioned before, the transition from work to home is hard for me. So a lot of my systems are geared to that, but it may be the other way around for you. So create systems that work for you. Cool. Let's go ahead. All right. Well, I wanted to add one last slide on when it is not a recommendation to compartmentalize, when not to compartmentalize. So these are my examples of what I call integration, when you actually want to merge your work and life together and let them, be a bit more fluid. The picture in the back there is us at Halloween this year. I'm not going to reveal who we are. You can put it in the chat and we'll see who guesses first. But we love to dress up as a family for Halloween. This has actually been a great point of building a connection and culture at work. Every time, like in every team I've been in, sharing our family picture, talking about, what we do as a family at Halloween has been a great conversation starter. So this is one example of integration where, it's been great to kind of let my work and personal life be fluid. Yeah, thank you, Jason. And then the other picture in the bottom right over here is actually a day off my daughter had from school, and I took her to work. We are having lunch together, and this was also another way of like showing her what I do, where I work. It was a great bonding moment to be able to show like how work is and what does mom do all day, right? So. Again, this is another example of integration where it felt great to have work and personal life mingle together. Cool. I see a lot of guesses. Great. All right. So I talked a lot throughout about the course we are doing together. Here are all the details. I believe Jason has dropped the link as well in the chat. We actually are respecting your work-life balance for this course as well. We have kept it to as short a time frame as possible, and we are going to pack it with lots and lots of content to be able to give you folks, all the uh, stuff that we want to talk about in a very compressed time frame. So that's why it is the way we have designed it to be. And then one more fun fact about why this is even more work-life balance is because I believe the day before, we were planning for the day before, and Jason had an event that he prioritized with his family. And so we were like, we all got to respect each other's work-life balance and picked this date that works for us all. So check it out and hope to see some of you over there as well. But that is, I think, our last slide. All right. Well, we're ready for the Q&A. We have about 10 minutes or so. Jason, you get to tell me who.
Let's go with Vibha's question live first, and then we'll answer
Great,
Jimmy's in the Q&A. So Vibha, come off mute
great.
and what's your question?
Here we go.
Hey, thank you so much for talking about this first of all, because people don't talk about this and everyone has it figured out somehow, and you feel like the only one
That's
who
the
doesn't.
secret. Everyone doesn't have it figured out.
Yeah. So my question, Chaitali, is um, when you're in leadership roles, you are somehow like trying to earn trust with your leader. I mean, I guess in
Okay.
every role, but it increases more as you go up the ladder, at least for me.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to be the first to jump in. Like, for example, my leader loves to throw problems out there to her team of directors, and she wants advice, opinions. Okay, how should we measure AI Copilot productivity in our developer org, right? And if you are not like checking email after 5, or you set a rule like that, you're too late to the party. And you kind of want to be, you may have really good ideas and you want to be their right hand woman, right? But how do you do this? I guess like
Great.
thinking.
I'm so glad you brought this up and with a very specific example. So, if you notice, nowhere in my presentation today did I talk about setting such hard boundaries. Like, I never check
Mm,
email after 5 and I only start working after 9 a.m. or something like that. To me, that is not what work-life balance is. That is why I specifically talked about compartmentalizing and integration. Because compartmentalizing as a concept to me is that you can and should build the skill of switching off one side of your work and life when necessary so that you are fully present and able to give time and energy to the other side. Like we talked through the example, sometimes it is work, sometimes it is life. This is
mhm,
not something that like you have to rigidly do every day, but it is something I go for quality over quantity. That's why, like the
mm,
specific examples I talked about, I would want to be fully present and enjoying time with my daughter for the moments that I'm with her. It's
Right.
not like necessarily even the everyday moments, but I talked about like the big ones. So that's compartmentalizing to me. Integration, like I said, you do want to have moments where you let work and personal life mingle together, whether it's to, create connections, build culture, and so on. But absolutely not a fan of setting rigid boundaries because of the
Mm,
very reason you mentioned. Because I think in day-to-day life, actually, it is not that much of a lift to, find some time if it's a Slack message, someone's asking and you are responding saying, hey, I'm very interested in this. I have some thoughts. I'll write it down and send you in a bit. That
mm,
message takes like, 10 seconds to write. And maybe you are writing it at 6 p.m. in the evening. I've sent plenty of
yeah,
such messages. And if that gives you the opportunity to lead a large project like this, great, go for it.
sounds good. Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's go. I posted in the Zoom chat the question from Jimmy.
Mhm.
Parenting guilt, layoff fear, nonstop grind. How do you as a VP actually get 8 hours of sleep?
You have to plan for it. I think, the reason I brought that up is also an example in some ways of compartmentalizing. Like I had to build my own systems and techniques. And one of them is like, I like to have like this mushroom coffee at night, if anyone knows what that is. Or like, even sometimes just warm water with lemon works for me, some warm drink. Um, to compartmentalize, right? In a way to calm down your mind and stop thinking about all the stress of work, maybe some more of life, and get that rest you need. So, this is to me another example of where that skill of switching off one or more, things that are anxiety inducing and stressful and letting yourself be present in some other moment, and in this case it is getting a good night's rest.
And anyone who asks a question, if you have a follow up, just come off mute and then ask again. But I pasted in chat the follow up question. How do you overcome fears, personal fears, noise, immigration journeys, prior manager traumas, all that stuff, to focus on what matters?
So I think to the question, that question, one thing I'll say is what you folks are seeing is like a very small snapshot today of a very long journey, right? And my thought over here is that it's not perfect. You're not going to be able to do everything every single time. However, the tips we talked about, the things you can try, skills you can learn like compartmentalizing, go a long way towards helping you with these journeys. They've absolutely helped me in very stressful times at work, particularly when I did not want that work stress spilling over into my personal life. And they've also absolutely helped me again, like the examples I shared at home when it was difficult. It was super difficult as a working mom of a young child to leave my sick child and go for this meeting and, give my everything. And it's happened multiple times. But hopefully, like using, the more you practice it and the more you try to do it, the better you'll be at it. It's never going to be perfect, but it's also at least some tools in your tool belt. I'm here to say that you don't have to feel helpless and that it cannot be done. I'm here to give examples of it is possible. It is a skill like any other that you can and should try to learn.
All right, question 3 in the chat. This one reads to be specific about your hours during work. Are there specific productivity things you do at work?
Good question. I think productivity at work is easier for me in that blocking focus time, making sure that, I'm able to, especially if like it is something high priority, like right now we have our performance review season, like making sure I keep time for writing the write-ups that we need and so on. It's easier to manage calendar that way. You have to block and you have to respect that block. You have to respect it first before anyone else respects it, right? So if you block and then you know, are like, oh, I can take one meeting here and two meetings there, there goes your block. So first and foremost, I think it absolutely starts with you respecting your own focus time blocks. But to the other point here about like specific hours and setting boundaries, again, to the same answer I gave, Vipha, I myself don't do this. And so it would be hard for me to recommend that you have very rigid boundaries of like, I only work this much and this much. On average, yeah, I try to have like these days I work Eastern time, so it's like 9 to 5 Eastern time. But am I open to when some days it spills over? If I'm able to manage work or life sometimes, absolutely. That's the nature and fluidity of most tech roles. And rather than fighting it by imposing, boundaries you cannot keep, I would say don't do that. Instead, save your time and energy to actually have the boundaries that matter, like what we talked about today.
All right, Q4 in chat. I got this as a private message, so I'll keep the person anonymous. How do you carve in time for career and skill development?
Great. Just like I talked about the focus time, I'm actually, if folks have been following me on LinkedIn, I'm in a new role and actively learning lots and lots of new things. And just like I talked about focus time for, other things that you have to do, it's been super helpful to carve out that learning time. Everything, including like learning basics like AWS. And it goes back to the same tip I mentioned before that you have to respect your time first and really protect it before like someone else is going to. So
Okay, let's see. I feel like I've been looking at the chat. The last question is similar to what you, I think, just answered.
yeah,
If there's anything extra, let us know. But any last hand raisers for a live question?
you can take one more live question.
Yeah, we'll take one more. Who wants it? Vipha, go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, I can go again. Thank you. There's no dearth of projects both at work and at home. I really find this right because I'm a very excited person in general. I think we all are. We love our work. We love our kids. We're like, oh, I can do this with my kids. Oh, I can do this
Absolutely.
at work, right? So, how do you say no? I guess the way to ask it is, how do you keep your plate manageable so you're doing enough, but and you're doing it well? Like, do you have like a rule that at given time I can have 4 work projects and 4 home projects, something like that? Like, that I'm
Yeah,
not going to
that's
sign up for more
a
than
good
that.
question. I'm going to first say that we have, I think, a section on this in the broader course, so I'll keep that as a suspense, but I'll give a preview here. I think what you're talking about is what my recommendation is to basically do an audit periodically. I do this both at work and at home, and things that, fall lower than that prioritization line. I personally don't like to just drop them and disappear. There's actually, I'll even give another preview. There's another article coming up in Ethan's newsletter very soon that I'm talking about this very concept. But the basic idea is that you're not going to be able to get everything done. So you do want to prioritize. And then when the things that fall below the line, you have to figure out what are you going to do with them. Are you going to just drop them suddenly? Not recommended. Uh, are you able to take them to a good milestone and then stop? Preferred. So that's what I do generally, like doing that, mental audit periodically and then figuring out for the things that I cannot do anymore, how do I gracefully stop them or drop them?
All
Cool.
right, I think that's everything. Good
Yes.
timing too. All right, everyone. We will follow up an email through Maven on the course links, and if you have any questions, just reply to that email for us. But thanks for the thoughtful questions, and Chaitali, thanks for the great advice.
Thank you. Thanks for
I,
organizing this, Jason.
I'll ask you: if there's any one last call to action you'd have for people watching, what would you want to leave them with?
Well, if you folks liked the content over here, you absolutely must check out our course because I don't think there is any other out there in the market like that. We have really tried to focus on how can you redefine the concept of work-life balance and not, the traditional view of like, oh, I'm somehow have to set rigid boundaries and protect them with my life because my boss doesn't agree with me, but I have to still get them to do it anyways. Ours is a more fluid and modern version, I guess. So, yeah.
I agree. I'll add a quick +1 to that because in this course, you're also getting two very different and strong point of views from Chaitali and then also Ethan. And Ethan will also share a lot of the missteps to avoid that he experienced going through his career. So, and the other thing is it's purposely one day for busy people and parents if you're a parent. So, join us. Okay, thank you, Chaitali.
Thank you.
All right, bye everyone.